I've been meaning to talk about General Goro in Genshin Impact, and since I don't have any friends to talk to about this stuff, I will disturb you guys a bit, so bear with me. Without losing much words, let's get on with it. If you haven't played the story arc of the Inazuma, I'll give you the quick gist of it, so I will spoil some of the story. The Inazuma arc currently can be broken down into two parts. The first one where you arrive on a first island and get to know the whole situation, which culminates in the first fight against the Raiden Shogun, you fleeing and joining the resistance, where you meet Goro, the general of it. And here is my first problem, and a question for you. Does he look like a general? For me, no. And before you say don't judge a book by its cover, I will say that the first impressions do matter, especially for a person such as the general. I'm not saying that he should have been muscly, big, and overall menacing with scars and stuff like that. I don't understand why is it a problem for MiHoYo to make some big muscly characters. As far as I know, that's what the community wants currently. But who am I? A fictional character in my own story. But muscles aren't everything, and there are many generals not because they look strong or menacing, but because of their experience and code of conduct. Competence is the key factor, making choices which may kill a lot of your people. Because of all of this, I will let the looks of the Goro pass. What I cannot accept is his incompetency. To be loved by his army is good. They are to follow him till the end of the world. But can Goro decide anything on his own? No, he does everything Kokomi tells him to, without questioning any of them. And that is the big problem. I can understand a soldier following orders without a question, but for a general, that is a bit weird. Kokomi is the head priestess of Watatsumi Island. Usually, she does not even have to mix in with the army, but she does so because she likes it and reads a lot of literature about the tactics and stuff like that. I mean, why wouldn't anyone discuss anything she wants to do with the army and obey everything she says? What I'm trying to say is that Goro always looks like a good dog. Literally. But enough about his incompetency as a general. The only explanation I can get is that we are talking about a general of a resistance. This isn't a professional army, like the one the shogunate has. Rather simple farmers and workers trying to defend themselves against the vision decree. But I still can't imagine that there isn't at least one person who could have stand up to Kokomi and say no, or at least question her decisions. It's only natural for the free people to question decisions of the others, especially of the leading people. Let Goro learn throughout the story that he needs to make mistakes and acknowledge the fact that he needs a guidance to become a great general, and because of this he does not question Kokomi's decisions, or forget about him being the general and make him a captain or something. Furthermore, he gets no character development in the main story. I mean, who thought it was a good idea to introduce an important character in a main story and do nothing with him? The first time you meet him, he depends on Kokomi, and in the end, nothing changes. We get a hangout event, but that does not do anything with his post as a general. He remains the same kind of a nice doggy general. Because of these facts, I really don't like the way they handled Goro and Kokomi too. They should be important characters in the story, but they look like random NPCs with titles above their heads. In order to fix these problems, the whole second part of the story must be changed and rewritten. The first solution is the general. We need him for the resistance. A similar persona like Sara Kujo, and by the way, I may simp, but Sara is the perfect general. I mean, just look at her. Menacing look, strategic thinking in some cases. When I look at her, I believe that she has the experience to lead an army. She maintains the discipline, has a code of honor, and has a dedication for the shogun and the land. And I'm not saying that Goro should have all of these things right off the bat, but he could have acquired them in his own way and finally at the end defeat Kujo. Here, writers could have made young versus old blood theme, or since writers want for Kujo to change sides and become one of the protagonists who will lead the traveler to Shogun, Goro could have convinced her that her clan went against the Shogun, and by the end of it they together go up against the Kujo clan and the Shogun. But no, nothing of this sort happens. After you're done with the Watatsumi Island, you never see him, which begs the question, was he even important for the story? In my opinion, even though I like him as a person after the hangout events especially, he is irrelevant in the main story. This whole fact just diminishes his value as a general. Kokomi could have selected another random dude from her army who could have done the same things. It just irritates me that they established Sarakujo as a general pretty well, but when it came to Goro, they just scrapped him. I guess waifus win in this regard. When you bring a lot of characters in the main story and give them titles such as a general, a brilliant strategist, a sage, a warlord, a genius, and you only tell us that they are important, is kinda weird and becomes bad when you don't do anything meaningful with them. This problem could be solved easily if you just reduce the number of characters or just show us why we should care about them. Actions speak louder than words. This is a game, a medium for telling, showing and making the player move the story on their own. If one of these elements are out, then why are you even making a story in a game? There are already plenty of gacha games that only have a glimmer of story in order to justify the battles, acquisition of characters, and so on. I mean, it's not that hard. But devs trying to make something big without putting much effort into story is just ridiculous. But back to the topic on hand. Where was I? Oh, yes, we need a general-like figure. Here lies a big wasted opportunity in my opinion. Instead of Goro to be a general from the beginning, we could have had a third person who has all the qualifications that I talked about above. Someone who could have been a father figure for Goro, for example. And because of him, he also wants to be a general and help his people in this war. This new general will also question Kokomi's decisions and be against it, since she should not mix herself with the army and primarily do her priestess job. But she has a talent for the strategy and tactics, but nobody wants to give her a chance, since this is a war and even the simplest mistakes could mean a loss of lives. But since this story should have a good ending, somehow Goro and Kokomi unite, win a lot of battles, and prove to the old general that they are capable, which forces him to step down and make way for the new generation. It could have been even better if the traveler unites them for the same cause, and lists the help of the Beidou and her pirates, who are terribly underutilized in this story and again a waste of opportunity. If you want to make a tragedy in the end, then kill off the old general somehow. I mean, there are a lot of ways. One where he saves Goro and sacrifices himself, for example, which automatically frees the way for the Goro to become a general in his young age and get a support from Kokomi as his tactician. The key to a good implementation is a lot of showing instead of only telling. This way we will see why Kokomi is a brilliant tactician and why everyone should fear her in battle. Goro becomes a general since there isn't anyone else for the job. In order for us to care, we must see characters in their normal day-to-day situation, then at their worst, and finally from these encounters will they achieve glory, and we as the players will feel satisfied. But all these changes would double, maybe even triple the length of the second part, which also doubles the amount of effort needed to do it. I understand that they didn't have much time, but a rushed story will always remain bad. If they took some extra time for it, then maybe it would have been at least mediocre. Just take some time, Mihoyo. There is a lot in the second part of the Inazuma arc needing a change. The whole Fatui involvement must be handled more delicately, the length of the story has to at least double in order to flesh out the characters. I mean, look what they did to my boy Kazuha. He does a big, ultra strong move at the end, which begs the question, how is he able to do that? The power of friendship, I guess. It's just shoved in. Beidou does almost nothing, Kujo gets discarded at the end, Ayaka and Yoimiya are just there, and La Signora is just killed off randomly. This is clearly a rushed story. All of this makes me sad, because I like these characters, especially Goro, but the way devs handled him in the story hinders me to love him completely. Now then, I won't bore you any longer, like and subscribe, and if you want to criticize me, the comment section is yours for the taking. Bye bye.